Hello, my name is Agustina Leiva, and me and my classmate Magalí Selín are going to make a review on two books, two stories, The Prince and the Pauper and The Canterbury Ghost.
The Prince and the Pauper is an amusing and meaningful book written by Mark Twain, who wants to show us two sides of the same coin, which are poverty and wealth. It is an historical fiction book set in the early 1500s. It tells us the story of Tom Canty, a pauper who always was dreaming about living the life of the royalty, and Edward Tudor, the Prince of Wales, who only wanted the freedom boys like Tom had.
The plot has an unexpected twist when the boys met and decided to switch off places. Tom started to live the life of his dreams, surrounded by valuable and astonishing things. On the other hand, Edward realized the freedom he was looking for wasn't in the dangerous streets he was going through. After many days of being an impostor, Tom was thought to be mad because he wasn't behaving like the real prince, and Edward was tired of wandering the streets alone and starving, so he finally decided to return the palace and claim his place. After the boys switched off position again, they started to perceive the life completely different as consequence of this big experience.
Tom Canty is one of the main characters of The Prince and the Pauper. He is the pauper of the story. He was an extremely humble and poor boy who was born in an English village near London Bridge. He was so into poverty that he grew up just in a room shared with all his family, and he had a terrible and difficult life story within his childhood. All we can say about his physical appearance is that he was completely clothed in rags. We know he had very little to eat every day, but despite this, he was an extremely correct, polite, and honest boy. Her family made him a beggar, but they failed to make him a thief. And even when begging, he was extremely cautious to be respectful with law. He was the only lettered member of the family. Differentiated from his siblings and his mother, he was not ignorant. He was taught to write, to read, and a little bit of Latin. Since then, he became wise and heroic within the other paupers. He knew so much, he had answers for every trouble, and well, then he read a lot, and with his extraordinary imagination, he fell in love with royalty and princes and kings. The most admirable feature he had was that of always looking at the bright side of life. He was so passive and vulnerable that even his own relatives punished and abused him. But despite this, he always stayed brave, positive, and hopeful that there was something better coming. At the end of the story, it seemed that his shyness and humility were disappearing and being replaced by arrogance and feelings of superiority. But however, we all know his lovely, good-natured soul had always been there. This is the case because at the end he was prized because of his actions and his hearty being. The Canterbury Ghost is a short story which was written by Oscar Wilde. It is situated in the 19th century in England. By this time, Industrial Revolution has already taken place, so as a result, many countries were fighting with each other, reclaiming to be at the top of the economical and political power. So this social context was more or less shown in the story because from the very beginning it refers to an American family that purchased a house who has been in property of an English family. The main characters in the story were the members of the Otis family that were Mr. Otis, Mistress Otis, Washington, the twins, and Virginia. And In the other hand, the Canterville Ghost. As previously said, the story begins when an American family, the Otis family, come to England and purchase a house there, a mansion, which has been in property of the Canterville family for ages. But before moving in, Lord Canterville, who was the owner of the chase in that moment, warns Mr. Otis that there were some uncommon, strange things that were happening in the house that were related to supernatural phenomena. The Canterville ghost, who had once been Sir Simon de Canterville, a man who, for unknown reasons, killed his wife and was consequently murdered by his family-in-law, was thought to inhabit the house since his decease in the 16th century. He assumed the job of making inhabitants pass through living nightmares because of his phantasmagorical apparitions and frights, up to the point he drives some of them to death. However, the Otis family was not frightened at all. Indeed, was the ghost who had a terrible life, a terrible time there because of the family's mockery. From then, Oscar Wilde develops a laughable but subtle story filled with unexpected twists in plot and utterly realistic descriptions that makes you feel you are into the story and also feel a sort of compassion for the ghost feelings. And despite there are some sensible scenes as regards blood and death, uh, imagination is a common denominator of the story, and this makes it quite original and suitable for all age readers.
Now I'm going to describe Sir Simon, the ghost from the book The Canterville Ghost. Physically, he changed a lot during the story, but the first time he was seen, he was an average age, kind of old. His eyes were like red burning coals, with a long gray hair falling over his shoulders, and he wore garments with an antique cat and rags, and on his ankles and wrist hung chains. As for his personality, he was rather insane because he had killed his wife, and take into account all the ideas and to frighten the family, I can say he was an imaginative and creative ghost or human, and he seemed to be a psychopath because he enjoyed causing terror to other people. He only was interested in scaring people and always busy trying to make new costumes and ideas for that. I really take an interest in the character because he could be cruel but at the same time hilarious. So I enjoy every part he appeared in the book. And also I always was expecting of what idea or costume he had made to frighten the people. Being honest, I thought it would be rather boring, but I really enjoy reading it, despite the fact I have to search for many words in the dictionary, but I think it really worth it. I will recommend the book for everyone who wants to read some kind of different historical fiction books, and especially for children because it has a strong message. So if especially children read this kind of books, they can learn many important things for their lives.
If I had to choose between one of these two stories, I will definitely choose The Prince and the Pauper. It's not that I didn't like The Canterville Ghost, but well, it's fiction and I found it quite childish to my view. So I prefer The Canterville Ghost. And also because within the beyond the story, that well, it makes us travel through two different lives I found extremely profound meaning that has to do with morals and values and how we appreciate life and what we have. So this is so important for me. So I will utterly recommend reading The Prince and the Pauper than The Canterbury Ghost.